Hello and welcome to Hobbies and Histories. Today we'll be covering the Swedish invasion of Poland and the subsequent civil war during the Great Northern War. I was originally planning to make just a video on the Battle of Fraustadt, but I decided to split the video into two parts and discuss the entire Swedish invasion and civil war. In the early days of the Great Northern War, Poland, which was led by King Augustus II, or Augustus the Strong, he was also Elector of Saxony. Poland, Lithuania, and Saxony were in a personal union at the time, so I sometimes use the term Polish and Saxon interchangeably. He allied with Tsar Peter I of Russia and the King of Denmark-Norway. Augustus soon joined his allies in their war against the Swedish in 1700. After landing at Copenhagen and forcing the Danish out of the war, King Charles XII of Sweden looked towards Russia and crushed them at Narva. You can learn about these in my other videos on the Great Northern War. King Charles XII then looked towards the Polish and Saxons. The Swedish saw it necessary to knock the Polish and Saxons out of the war before they could march into Russia, or their supply lines would be threatened. The Saxons and Polish had laid siege to the city of Riga in 1701, but after relieving Narva, the Swedish marched down to Riga. The Swedes crossed the river Duna at night and crushed the Saxon-Polish army. With casualties of only 100 dead and 400 wounded for Sweden, and over 2,000 killed, captured, or wounded Saxon-Polish troops, it was a decisive Swedish victory and allowed them to relieve the city of Riga. Charles XII would march unopposed into Warsaw on May the 14th, 1702. South of Klis, near Klisau, a large battle took place on July 19th, 1702. After a failed Swedish envelope maneuver, the Saxons counterattacked. The Swedish repulsed the counterattack and won a decisive victory. The Swedes only had 300 dead and 800 wounded soldiers, while the Saxons had 1,800 dead, 900 wounded, and 1,700 captured soldiers. This battle was the last battle in which the Polish winged hussars took place in, ending their dominance of the battlefield for like over 200 years. Charles XII then considered a strike into Saxony itself, but decided against it, because a strike against the Holy Roman Empire, which Saxony was a part of, would benefit France in the ongoing War of Spanish Succession. Since Charles would have good relations with both the Dutch and the English, who were fighting the French in the War of Spanish Succession, he did not want to anger his possible allies. Charles also wanted to stir a rebellion against Augustus the Strong, and that would be difficult if the Swedish invaded the Saxons. They would look like an evil invader, and people would flock to the army. However, if they did not invade Saxony, they could build a rebellion against Augustus, which is what they did. After making camp at Krakow for the remainder of 1702, the Swedish engaged in a cavalry fight at Poltask on the 21st of April, 1703. It led to another decisive victory for the Swedish. With only 20 killed and another 20 wounded for the Swedish, and over 400 killed and 800 captured for the Saxons, it would be one of the greatest victories. After Poltask, the Swedish were easily able to win the Siege of Thorn, in which the Swedish only lost 50 men and the Saxons over 1,000 dead and 5,000 captured. With a large army on the Prussian border, Charles forced Frederick I of Prussia into signing a non-aggression pact. This would secure up Charles's army from the Prussian border and allow them to fight elsewhere. However, Frederick would break this agreement in 1715, but that's a story for another time. In 1704, many Polish people who were not happy with Augustus the Strong flocked to a man named Stanislaw Lazinski. The Swedish supported Stanislaw's bid for the throne, and on the 31st of July, 1704, 1605, the Swedish crushed the Polish attempts to recapture Warsaw at the Battle of Warsaw. 144 Swedish were killed, while another 148 were wounded. The Saxons had 1,000 killed, wounded, or captured. Right after that, on October the 4th, 1705, Stanislaw was crowned King of Poland. However, his leadership would not last that long, but that, once again, is a story for another time. In November of 1705, Stanislaw formed an official alliance with Sweden. However, Augustus had not lost everything yet. In 1706, he sent a force under Johann Matthias von der Schollenberg towards Warsaw. Carl Gustav Renskold, one of Sweden's finest generals, intercepted the force near the town of Fraustadt. And that is where we leave off today, with the beginning of the Battle of Fraustadt, which I will cover in part 2 of this series. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and share this content with your friends. Goodbye.